Hello, my name is Iglooghost.
Let's hear about the first things you connected to musically. What made you start what you're doing?
I grew up in like a countryside town. There kind of like wasn't anything else to do except for like go on the internet. So like really it was just like just me getting like lost in my laptop and like I don't know like nicking software like when I was like 12 of like dodgy sites, which I still do. So just pretty much being like an internet rascal, I guess.
I mean, it's what's incredible about Iglooghost is that you're incredibly young and really talented. You've invented a whole musical world and magical, mystical world. And you were signed in a really big record label. So I guess students here today are pretty much inspired of this sort of path. So maybe we can share some information regarding what happened when you were connected with Brain Feeder.
Yeah, like before I got signed, it was kind of, I mean, I was just like kind of mucking about on the internet, and like I had like a lot of friends who also made music, like I'm sure like a lot of other producers do, and it kind of happened just through like a degree of like separation, like how people say like everyone knows someone who like knows someone who knows someone. So like just somebody I knew kind of eventually like knew the right people, like Flying Lotus and like the Brain Feeder people. So I'd say like I didn't really go and like try and beg it and like really go out looking for it, but it definitely helps to create, like not have it contrived, but definitely have like a big circle of friends who you actually like think are cool. And yeah, if there's like a bigger sort of like gene pool of like the amount of people who your stuff can reach, that definitely helps. So yeah, like I guess I eventually reached Flying Lotus, and then like he just like DM'd me or something. So it wasn't like I didn't have like a manager or anything. It wasn't like some creepy like industry shit.
So talking about the way that you produce your music and the concepts that you have, maybe you can guide us through one of the main concepts that you had in your first album?
Yeah, I mean, I've got like a lot of these sort of like mantras and stuff. Like when I produce, like I'm not kind of like one of those people who sort of like go in and like just kind of let like ideas come out and like just like I don't know, go in some weird trippy state for like an hour. Like is that actually like I don't know. I mean, I sort of have to really go in like with a purpose and like. It's like to the point where I often like write down like what I want the song to sound like before I make it, which is just me. Like I'm sure that like what I said before like works for some people, but yeah. So like I mean for the album, like a big sort of like mantra, if you will, for it was that I wanted to make sounds kind of like everything was made on a laptop, but I wanted it to sound kind of physical. So like give software sounds like a physical property almost. So like I don't know if there's like a synth that's just literally just made on like Serum or something. I'd try and sort of add like physical sounds around it in a way. So like maybe if it's like a thudding like hard bass, I'd try and add like a physical boom behind it almost. So yeah, that was something I was trying to do with like each sound. If that makes sense. That might make a bit more sense like when I break down a track.
And your music is it well connected with the imaging and the animation characters as well? So did you work on them yourself, or you had someone to help you with?
Yeah, that's just me. Like I try and do like as many things on my own as I can, just because like I don't know. I feel like it's just kind of more encompassing of like what I imagine the stuff to be. So like. Yeah, I do pictures and my own emails and all the boring shit.
If you had an advice to give all these young producers, I mean, you're the same age, sort of. What is the main reason we brought you here, so that you give inspiration to them? What would be a few of the advice that you would give them?
There's like a few things. I mean, as far as making music, I always like, I tell like everyone this, but I think it's like, I honestly think it's the most important thing. But I think like when you make music, you should always be trying to make something that doesn't exist yet, which sounds kind of obvious, but it's like, I think there's like real power in like knowing exactly what you wish existed. So like, I don't know, like if you want like a combination of like, I don't know, like drill and like math rock, like it's better to just make it if you can't find it. I always used to spend like a lot of time like looking for these combinations of like genres and stuff on the internet that I kind of imagined up in my head, and then there was like a point where I just couldn't find it. I was like, oh fuck it, like I'll just make it myself. So I think that's like a good way of kind of finding your own niche.
I was just curious how you made the jump from like producer who is relatively unknown to like making money and having it support you.
Yeah. I don't know, I mean, I'd eat off the shit. Like I live off it. I kind of still feel like underground or whatever, but this is definitely like I don't really have another job, but I mean I eat off like shows mostly. I'm like fortunate enough that like I kind of got like a booking agent like early on, like when I got signed. So like if you got like a good booking agent, like you can build momentum, and like I guess like your fees kind of get higher and higher. But other than that, like it's just like it's being crafty really. Like there's like weird things that can kind of get money on the side, like just I don't know, like splice sample packs or like a publishing deal or like I mean like anything really. Like you can just like, as long as you're crafty, you can kind of do it. But it's scary because it's like it's not like being on like a salary. So like you gotta like fend for yourself like the whole time. But yeah. Yeah, I think anybody could do it really, like if you like definitely wanna.
Cool, man. Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
Yo, man, thanks for introducing yourself. I was just gonna say one of my favorite tracks is your remix of L by Rocks,
thanks.
and I was just wondering if you had any plans to work with Rocks.
Yeah, he's like I don't know, he's pretty elusive.
You're both pretty elusive.
Yeah, he's even more elusive than me. Yeah, I hope so. He kind of just does his own thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, the rappers are like hard to pin down sometimes. It's like they're weirdos, but yeah. So I was just gonna like break down a track. This is like the most recent thing I made, which like it's not released or anything, but it's definitely like the freshest in my head. So I think that might help. But I'll play just like it's actually not done, but I'll play like the most recent bounce before like we break it down. Yeah, it's like, it's super rough right now. And like, it'll probably change fucking loads, but yeah, that's like the most recent thing I made, so it'll probably be the easiest one to do. Shit, so yeah, all my project files are massive, just like gargantuan messes. Like I'm super disorganized with this shit, so I'm definitely gonna be figuring this out as I go along. But yeah, so I use Reason, obviously, which is like, it's a horrible program for idiots. I wouldn't recommend it at all. But it's kind of like, it's just what like I ended up using. I've been using this since I was like 15 or something. Yeah, it's a piece of shit. But that kind of doesn't, like, it doesn't mean that like this will be useless. Like, I'm gonna try and talk about this in like a way that's not like specific to this program, because that's just like useless, because I doubt anybody uses it, right? Like, you guys just use Ableton or something? Ableton, yeah, good. So yeah, yeah, I'll just go through like each stem, just try and figure this out. So I started with this like, I think this is like an Aphex Twin sample. I do kind of start with samples like quite a lot, even though my music is like quite MIDI based and like software based. But yeah, so it's like this little like jangly, yeah, like I don't know what it is, like rattling something. It sounds like an old gate, but I thought that yeah, it kind of has it's kind of got like melodics to it. So yeah, it kind of turned into this big like loud 808 slappy thing. So the first section is like this one. Right, so this one started, my friend Kai kind of started this one off. It was just like this loop. So that's kind of what we started with, and I like went on to turn it into this larger track. So that kind of began with just taking the original loop, just EQing it like a tiny weeny bit. Yeah, I don't know. I just kind of like, with EQ, like I usually just feel it out. So I just boosted the low ends a little bit. Don't know what this is, didn't use it, so that's okay. So on top of this loop, I started layering like, I think these are kicks, just for like something a little bit more punchy. I'm kind of into kicks that are like quite like soft sounding, because I just felt like, well, yeah, I mean like the kicks on their own are like, they're kind of like rounded to me, like there's not like a lot of like texture, because there's like enough of that going on. So I just wanted to keep them like really sharp, like really punchy. As far as effects, I'm pretty sure this is why Reason is a piece of shit. Like whatever this is, don't worry about it. Yeah, just like a weed EQ boost there, just like pushing up the low ends. What's this? Yeah, like a little trick that I use for the kicks and like pretty much all the drums, is like just I'll bounce out like a single kick in like the kick pattern and stretch out a bit, and like reverse it and then maybe fade it in, so it kind of adds like this like anticipation before like a particular kick. So I kind of have it like leading into like the first drop. So with that reversey thing with the kicks is like, so it kind of like, yeah, I mean, it just sort of like makes it feel a little bit more physical and like rubbery almost. Something else I did with the kicks, is so with the kick and the snare pattern, like I just wanted, it's like pretty simple on its own, like kind of doesn't work on its own. Like that's like super, that's not very dynamic to me. So I wanted to kind of keep it, I still wanted to keep it pretty simple with that loop. So I just kind of bounced out various parts of that like drum pattern loop, like really fuck with them, just us kind of like leaving these like effect trails. So what that is like it's like a LFO. I don't even really know what you'd call it, but so like on Reason, it's like an inbuilt thing. So you can't really use it on anything else, but it's like essentially it's like this kind of combination of like a pitch shifter. It also has like LFO. It can do a bunch of like fucking weird stuff, but it kind of just sounds like a mess when you put anything through it. In fact, yeah, I'll do an example. So here's the snares, and then if I whack one of these on, like, yeah, it just like, you can kind of tweak it like all day, and yeah, it's like always gonna sound pretty chaotic. So I like how much it fucks it up. So like I'll often just export like the wet of that and then kind of quantize it and like make it actually like on pattern. So like with a metronome, like this is on beat. Yeah, so that's kind of just been like warped and contorted. A lot of my stuff is like really about exporting like kind of like chaotic sounds and like quantizing them to sound like a little bit more ordered. Another thing this beat has is like so over that 808, I really layer 808s to the point that like they don't really sound like the original sample. So for this, I ended up using this kind of like scratchy, almost like neuro-funk bass over it, just for like a shit ton of texture, and I took out like all the sub, and then like automated a lot of the macros. So yeah, I usually kind of try and, if I'm using presets and stuff, I usually try and take them from a place where like a lot of other producers who would kind of be associated with me maybe like wouldn't go. It's like I hang out on these like cringy, like shitty like drum and bass forums and stuff, and like try and see what they're using. Just cause like nobody else is gonna nick this stuff. In fact, I probably shouldn't show you. But like, yeah, so like this is like literally, this is horrible like EDM shit. But I think there's like a lot of merit in some of these sounds, and like put in the right context, I think they can sound cool. Because at the end of the day, like it's like sound design until you put it in like a shit track. So I kind of try and take like just the stuff that I like. Yeah, that's like a good source, I think. So I think that's where this one's from. Yeah, so it's like a neuro-funk type thing. And then layered over like the 808, it's kind of like, yeah, so that's kind of like a rubbery texture. I also have like this little like vocal sample, just for like, I don't know, kind of sounds out of place, but I like it. So this section kind of like, I guess it's kind of like the interest kind of gets held because the pattern, although it is like in a way a loop, it kind of modifies a little bit. Like I usually want to keep every few bars, like I try not just straight up copy and paste stuff. This beat's kind of a rare one because it does sort of feel like a beat because it's just like a fun one. This wouldn't be like album shit. Yeah, but like still, I would want to make a lot of the bars like way different to the preceding ones. So to do that. It's just like a few modifications to like, I don't know, like the start of this bar is like it just drops in, whereas this one kind of has like this delay. So yeah, so like just like the bass and stuff comes in a little bit late, and there's some kind of like filler noises. Oh yeah, for this bit, I think I ended up like for the initial loop, I used like this kind of weird, like some more weird feedback shit, and I also automated like a high end, so like you lose the bass for the first bit, but also goes kind of like crystally and like a little bit weird. It's like with the kicks and stuff. Yeah, and that's just like automation with this thing. Yeah, you can have like a lot of fun with like delays are delays, but you can also kind of turn them into like pitch shifters in a way. So yeah, I'm always like automating that kind of stuff, like the speed, cause like yeah, like if you automate like the speed of a delay, obviously like the pitch changes as well. So for this little bridge, and I don't really know a lot about music theory, so I kind of just like, I just kind of try and explain how this works, like the way that I think about it. So like for this whole part, like it's kind of like it's like a bassy, like hard part, and I wanted to like transition it into something like a lot more melodic, but I was kind of having trouble finding the key, or like even like writing like nice melodies over like what is essentially a single bass line repeating. So to kind of transition it, I literally just like bounced out a clip of the loop and like had it so it like the pitch literally just shifts down. So like that kind of allowed me to like, yeah, like transition kind of like, it sort of, it kind of cuts your attention off, I guess, from So I did that, and then I kind of tried to like recreate like parts from this loop, just so you can kind of like gradually like bring the listener out and into this next section. So I got like this is like a little loop I was messing with. It's like some Afro-Latin like percussion. And I don't even have the original source of this, but I often have fun with drums, just going into like the slices or the like the warp markers, kind of just like, you know, shifting them all about, kind of making them your own. Like I'm always trying to avoid using just like direct sample sources, because like kind of anyone could use the same noise. Yeah, also for this section, like to make it like, to just shift it into the more melodic part afterwards, there's like these keys that come in, and they sound a little bit strange kind of on their own, so. For that like off-kilter feel, I have it so the pitch actually like drifts. So that's not like a constant kind of like piano sample, it does like glide, just to give it that kind of like wonky feel. And then it's also just overall detuned with a chorus. And also the piano is like, I had it so it's like super, it is MIDI, but I wanted it like super subdued, so it doesn't have like a lot of high ends or whatever. It's like really kind of muddy and bassy, but I feel like that's kind of like one of the only ways, unless you're really good at like MIDI pianos, that's like one of the only ways to kind of like mask the fact that it is like a soft piano. So like hidden under all that nonsense, like it's kind of like arguable, like it's kind of hard to tell like where that came from. Yeah, so to transition into the next part, it was like. yeah, obviously there's like this little dip in just like everything pretty much. So that was literally just like I think everything disappears aside from like this that kick reverse thing that I was talking about earlier. So there's still that, but yeah, everything just disappears just to create like a little just like a sudden blip into silence. So for this part, which is kind of, I guess, the meat and potatoes of the whole thing. All right, let's see. So aside from the vocals, it's like, yeah, that's carried by like a similar chord progression to this bridge. But it's a little bit different. It's like I can't play keys at all. So like I'm sure when I actually like played this in on the MIDI, it would have sounded like shit. So I would have done some like tweaking on like the actual notes, which would have taken me like fucking probably about half an hour longer than it should have. But to go on top of that, I wanted like something melodic that would like kind of be a curveball from the first part. So I went with this sort of like prepared piano that I think is a contact patch. So this sliding like metallic thing. And with the keys, it's like. Yeah, so like this thing's nice because it's got like a lot of like depending on the velocity of like each note, it really just throws some kind of sonic curveballs. Like it sounds fucking horrible. Like the harder the velocity is, which I really like. Like those higher notes are like really piercing, which I think is cool. Yeah, the percussion kind of gets a lot busy here. I like, it sounds kind of weird, but I'm always kind of trying to derive like ideas from like unlikely sources when it comes to drum patterns. Like this is, believe it or not, like this section is like, it's kind of my version of like New Orleans bounce, which is like, if you don't know about that, it's just like, it's like a dance music genre. Yeah, from New Orleans. It's like, it's like a bouncy drum pattern, but like the instrumentation of that kind of stuff doesn't usually sound like this. So I like have a lot of fun like juxtaposing like these worlds that kind of like don't often meet. And yeah, for this whole thing, I made a lot more use of like let's have a look. Yeah, so like there's a lot of like reversing percussion, which is again like kind of it's like bounced out like wet feedback, which is then quantized. I really wanted this whole part to have like a zippy kind of feel, like it's like this percussion sort of like ricocheting off each other. And yeah, it's like I guess it's like this combination of like these like organic sounds that I really like these metallic things that I would have found somewhere, and then like this really synthetic sounding kind of like feedback. And I mean personally, like I always try and find samples that sound like as HD as possible. Like I'm not really into like lo-fi kind of sounding things like that. Like because of how busy these tracks usually get, it's like the more lo-fi stuff I kind of add in, like the more just like blobby the whole kind of thing gets. But that's kind of just like the way I make these songs. So yeah, it's like I make sure like every single bit of percussion like definitely has a purpose. Like I'll be super like selective with what kind of stays in, because like if you add too much in this kind of style of things, like it just really tips the boat, and like you just end up with a big hot mess of a track. So aside from percussion, there's like a lot of vocals in here. So yeah, this is kind of layered from like a bunch of other projects, but this is Baby, and she's singing. Yeah, I usually just hit her up and like just like I just tell her to like lay down an idea on something, and then like I'll just manipulate and take bits of it and kind of use it as like an instrument. I think this is from a few other projects, but in terms of like how I mix these vocals, I'm usually doing it inside Reason, which is it's probably a bad idea because it's kind of not really for this. But what I'm kind of into is like really short reverbs and like really boxy sounding things. So, just for example, like for these backing vocals, which are literally just like ad-libs, I'm always trying to use like inexistent decays and just like really heavy short reverbs, so like everything kind of sounds like it's inside like a metal box or something. Yeah, and I think that's like a good way to mask like shitty audio quality, which is like what I'm usually working with. Then just like blast in the highs like as far as they can go. Like there's probably engineers who would like they'd have a heart attack if they saw this stuff, but yeah, I mean like I'd really like I kind of just I screw with like the EQs, maybe put reverbs on. I don't even fucking know what a compressor is. It's crazy, like the amount of like knowledge that I'm kind of technically lacking, especially in terms of mixing, is like I can't even overstate it. Like I don't know a lot about like the proper way to mix things, but I just do it until it sounds right and like persevere. So I can never fucking pay attention to like tutorials. Bass wise, I think, yeah, for this one it's like so I brought back that kind of like neuro-funk, like gross, like rubbery bass, and I've got like a softer, like more melodic bass now, which is just like, it's kind of a Reese, and then I would have like tried to like get rid of like the high ends and shit. I think it's a Serum one. So like without the neuro-funk thing, it's like yeah, that's like the subby shit, the subby stuff covered, and then like the texture comes from that other one. And so like that's just two basses layered, but like a lot of the time, like as long as like the frequencies are kind of doing their own things, I really don't think there's like there's not much of a limit of how many basses you can layer. Like I always just like, I'm already using just one. But yeah, it's like, two isn't a lot, but there's definitely been times I've layered like 5 basses or whatever. But as long as like they've all got like, they're all kind of operating like their own space and like the frequencies, that's cool. So after that section, so yeah, like as I was saying about this part, where it was just like my stupid kind of like the percussion, the drums was kind of like my version of like New Orleans bounce. Like I'm pretty interested in just like chucking genres like next to each other that kind of like usually wouldn't meet, and then just like immediately like before you can kind of figure out, I'd like want it to be onto the next thing. So like that's about how much of the New Orleans shit you get. And then this part for like like this many bars, I was trying to do like a I don't know, like an older like grime drum pattern, but like obviously the sounds of the drums and like the instrumentation doesn't sound like grime. But I think like the pattern to me is like a nod to it. So to do that, like I wanted the claps, which yeah, that's like a new addition at this point of the song. And I'm not actually sure they come back. I'm always like juggling drums throughout the track. Like I never really have the same drums going on for too long, as you can see. And like that's just kind of like my musical ADHD or whatever. Like I'm sure if like you're making like a beat for like a rapper or whatever, like you kind of want to keep things a bit skeletal and simple. But for me, yeah, I want like as many ideas as possible, to be honest, just because like that's what I'm into. So
do you have a time limit for setting a track or no?
How
like do you set small goals? So I'm gonna finish this track by then.
I try. It usually takes like a month to make like one track maybe, just because like I'm super slow at this stuff. Even though like I work all day, I'm usually juggling like a few songs at once. But like a track doesn't usually get finished in like a day like normal people, which is really annoying. But yeah, it's like I think I'm getting faster. I think that's like one good thing I've noticed about production is like I think I'm kind of getting better at just like working, which is good. Like I've never procrastinated, but I think it's less hard to make a song almost, and like I think that gets quicker and quicker, which is cool. But for this bit, yeah, like I was just juggling like these two drums and like so I felt like I don't know. I mean, like as long as the volume, like the perceived volume, is more or less the same, and like it's not like too much of a jarring switch, you can usually get away with this stuff. As far as like swapping claps and stuff like mid-song. So for this part, like I really wanted to turn the vocals like into kind of an instrument. So like although there's like a lot of layers on the part before, I like wanted to just like so like there's this little bit here. Like I just took like the last tiny like little second of it and like turned it into like this repeated phrase, and then so that kind of like that goes along with a new pattern, and then like it also introduces these other layered vocals which kind of follow like a similar vein. They are up here. So they kind of like trade off almost. So it's like initially it's like yeah. So yeah, that's just literally just like playing with alternative takes that I would have got sent, and like yeah, just kind of trying to create like a new melody out of like what is already a melody. I think that's always fun. I also use Melodyne like quite a lot nowadays, but not like Melodyne itself, but more this Melodyne sort of like imitation that's like built into Reason. I'm sure there's like VSTs and shit that you could get if you use Ableton or Logic or whatever, but yeah, it literally just works like, it's like, so like yeah, it's like you manipulate, I don't know how the fuck it works, but you manipulate like almost MIDI, but it's like the sound file itself. So like these are what like the algorithm recognizes as the notes of that little sample. And like you can just kind of like, so if you wanted to put that like really low down, it'll sound super weird and super unnatural, but if you, it's like if you slid it down there, it's like, it's funny. It's like, cause you can kind of, I mean, if you're really sneaky with it, you can kind of trick vocals to follow like actual believable different patterns. But I usually like taking it to like stupid extremes. Like I don't know, if I need something a little bit interested in like some kind of tiny break, I might like pop it up there or whatever. It's funny, like yeah. So like I was using a lot of that. Like these audio clips kind of weren't sent in the state that they are now. Like the melodies are definitely a lot different. Yeah. So yeah, there's this section and this little bridge. One sec. So yeah, like the kind of the motif for that section is it's about like joining together this kind of more melancholy part that we were just going through like here, and then that initial like bassy like hard shit at the start. So that whole part, like I kind of wanted to marry the two to kind of justify them both existing in like the same track. Like I always feel like that's kind of a nice sort of like eureka moment when you listen to it. You're like, oh shit, like these two things kind of can work together. Like this shit doesn't always work, but I was kind of lucky with this one that it did. I think this was the point in the song where I realized like the first part technically is in a different key to the middle, which is kind of, I mean, it's in like the relative minor or major or something like that, but yeah, I like had to kind of blag it, and I took like all the bass out of the start. So it's just this kind of like jangly loop, and use like similar bass notes to that middle section. Except like it's kind of like a hard 808 this time with that neuro-funky thing. Just so it's like a little bit more jumped up than like that soft Reese. Also added like these new keys, which kind of like, this part has like a lot of breaks in between like bars. So I wanted to use like arpeggiating almost piano keys. So these were like, they were pretty much designed like with the beat. So I kind of like, it skips and hops like in between these little breaks. Yeah, so it's like, I mean, it's kind of deceptively not a lot of new elements added, like aside from stuff that's like popped up in these two, but I think it sounds like it sounds way different kind of combined. Yeah, so I mean, like, it's funny because this track isn't done yet, but after this little outro I'm planning probably when I go home to bring it back to something more similar to that hard bit, because right here I've got like this other bridge, which is like, it's more like, I kind of tried to get rid of all the drums, just have like another super melodic part, but like really ham up like the melodrama. Sounds like, I don't know, it's like this like sad anime outro or something here. So like yeah, I want to bring it back to like the loud clanging stuff here towards the end. Yeah, that's just like that's the most recent track that I've been working on. I can't really speak a lot on like the technical side of things because like that's nothing that's really been that important to me like since I've been making music, and it still isn't really. I think everybody has like their own different ways of doing things, and like it goes to the point where like I even have like I don't know the notes on like a keyboard, so like up here like there's the piano roll. I have my own I have my own names for each key because I don't know what an F is. Like this one, I call that one like the one by the one where there's 3 of them. Like it's pretty ridiculous, but yeah, it's like if you're banging into the technical stuff, that's cool, but it's never really been like the most exciting part of it all to me. So I'm sure like you've been thinking like while I explain all this stuff, like it's kind of like it's like oddly like simple and like kind of just like literal, but yeah, it's like everyone's kind of got their own way of doing things. It might be partly due to the fact that I use like a weird program, but yeah, I mean yeah, I've got like a lot of my own tricks and like things that aren't like immediately explainable to like an Ableton user or whatever, but I think it's kind of important to know that like I mean pretty much everyone's workstation is like a complete mess, including mine. Yeah, so yeah, I mean that's pretty much it for this track.
Let's give it a round of applause for Iglooghost.